everyone. Welcome tonight. We're going to explore the calling of Gideon, which is told in Judges 6. And I'm going to start with a little bit of background about where Israel was at this point in their history, because it's relative to understanding Gideon's call and his circumstances. Israel had been enjoying 40 years of peace and prosperity after their victory over an enemy. And during that time, they got lax. They started worshiping Baal right alongside of Yahweh, almost as an equal God. And they did things that were evil in the sight of the Lord. The Lord delivered them into the hands of their enemies, the Midianites. And they had been for 7 years oppressed by the Midianites. The oppression looked like this on a day-to-day basis. All of the Israelites had gone into the mountains, and they had made their homes and dwelling places in the caves, in the crevices, and among the rocks that they felt were safe places for them. The mountains in this terrain are very rugged and rigid, difficult to traverse. So this is where they had been for 7 years. Every year they worked hard to plant food and grain. They worked hard to get it all ready. And every year when it was ready, the same thing happened. Their enemies would pack up their tents on intimidating camels and ride into their area where the food was growing, pitch their tents, and have a party where they ate all the food, gave it all to their cattle, ate it themselves, and they came to destroy the land. Finally, after 7 years, even though Israel didn't get the clue that they were part of the problem, they did finally realize that maybe Yahweh is part of the solution. They cried out to him, "Help us, deliver us!" And he, in response, sent a prophet. And the prophet said to them the words of the Lord were, "I am with you, I am the Lord your God. I've delivered you out of Egypt. I've delivered you from your oppressors. I paved the way for you to have this land. I drove the people out before you. I gave it to you, and you do not listen to my voice." So now they had a little clue that they were a bit of the problem. Another thing we need to know about Gideon and Israel before we explore his call is how the tribes worked. Each tribe had a responsibility within society, and they were very serious about sticking to only people in that tribe do those responsibilities. One tribe was responsible for worship in the temple, and so forth and so on. Gideon's father and he were members of the tribe that was something to do with food preparation. So it's, down here on the totem pole. That's our setting. How the call happened. The angel of the Lord walked in onto Gideon's father's property. And he walked under a tree, and he sat down in the shade of this tree. Beside the tree there was a wine press. The wine press was not being used for what it was made for. Inside this wine press there was a man, and he was separating the shafts from the actual wheat. The wheat was the part that could nourish, the shafts were useless and need to be thrown away. It's very hard to do this work in this setting, because normally you would do this work out on the ridge of a hill perhaps, where the wind could pick up the pieces and whisk them away, the dirt and the debris. Inside this wine press, it was hot. It was not, no wind was coming along, and it was not conducive to this kind of work. He was hiding in the wine press because they did not want their enemies to see they had anything to harvest. So that was humiliating on top of the bad circumstances. What did the angel of the Lord say to this man in the wine press? Well, the man was Gideon. And the angel of the Lord spoke boldly and calmly and said, "The Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor." Well, Gideon took issue right away with the first statement. He said, "Oh yeah, if the Lord was with us, why are we here in this situation? Why are we oppressed? Where is the great miracles our fathers talked to us about?" And the angel of the Lord simply and calmly said, "Use your might to free Israel. Have I not sent you?" Now it got personal. Now Gideon realizes he needs to address the second part, where he called him a great man of valor. And he explains to the angel of the Lord about how the tribes work. And my dad's tribe is the weakest of the tribes, and you might not have noticed, but none of us are all that strong right now. We're hiding out in caves and quaking when we hear the hoofbeats of camels. and I am the weakest of his house. So you're picking the weakest of the weak. You're talking to the wrong guy. The angel of the Lord simply responded, I am with you, and you will free Israel as one man. Well, now Gideon's thinking we don't know exactly what, but he decides it's time for some proof. And he says, if I please you, may I do something to make sure that it's really you I'm talking to? The angel of the Lord thinks that's pretty permissible and reasonable. So he says, I'll wait here. Gideon goes in his father's house. He prepares food, broth, and bread, and he comes back. And during that time he was making the food, he probably was thinking over everything the man had said, and he probably thought, this guy's definitely a Looney Tune. But in his language, it might have been called something else. He brings out the food, the broth, the bread. He puts it on the stone. The angel of the Lord did something beautiful in response to all his questions and his doubt and uncertainty. He simply reaches over and touches that food with the tip of his staff. And poof! Up it goes in smoke, and the angel of the Lord disappears. And in that moment, the understanding comes rushing in on Gideon, and he realizes, I see what's going on. This is the angel of the Lord. And he cries out, he says, alas, oh my God, I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face. And he must have been quaking in his boots. God responded and said, peace, you're not going to die. And as that calm rolled over him, he built an altar in that place, in that moment, and he called the altar, the Lord is peace. Do you guys have any feedback? Keep it rolling, please. Do you guys have any feedback on the story? I need to know possibly what was your strongest impression of the story? What might you remember about it tomorrow or the day after that?
To me, the way I say the whole thing is God can use anyone, even if you're the least in any situation or any background you feel, just like David. He was out there in the field looking after the father's sheep, and the brothers are, well to do and all that. But it's not about the physical appearance or whatever your achievements. If God wants to use you, He can use anything. The least is what I think of.
So true. So true. Anybody else? Oh yeah, yeah, that's really neat. That is sweet. Is there anything that I did that you felt added to the story or added to let the story shine through or be more vivid than just reading it in the text or something you knew of him before?
Yeah, you brought it into like the day-to-day thing that we humans go through, not just like reading it in the Bible, like referring to the things of olden days. We brought it to life like a normal thing happening in our day-to-day business. Exactly.
And also the language.
Exactly.
You use some modern
Exactly.
language, like you didn't have a clue.
So that was you found that helpful, like helped you relate to the story?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then, is there anything that you thought I could do different in my presentation, or was there anything about the way I presented the story that took away from the story or was distracting?
No.
Any way I could improve the way I shared it?
I feel it really brought the whole story. It's not just reading something in the Bible. You can relate to it now. It's happening now. Like that's the kind of thing that God can use anybody. So nobody is useless in this thing. Nobody is. So,
And you use your hands well.
Okay, so I didn't take
The
away.
hand motion, no. I think that helped.
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Just making sure you're all awake.
And I've had this story before, but you make it more lively.
Yes.
You present it very well.
Well explained.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Great.
Well explained.
So So some of the background details are helpful to understanding.
Like when you were
patients.
explaining about the grades and, you know.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time.